Good morning and God bless. I'm Dominique DiPrima. The show is First Things First, my first thing every day, giving thanks, giving praises, asking for blessings from the Most High, asking for the blessings of the ancestors, the elders. Yes, the elders, and let's go. Let's talk about it. I know we can improve it. Big shout out to Money B for putting some bars down to start our day every single day. Money B of Digital Underground. I'm Dominique DiPrima. And the way we do this show is the first hour, we typically look at what's going on locally, right? Your left coast, up and down, north and south, your city, your neighborhood, your community. Hour two, we go national, international, and beyond. In the third hour, we do a deep dive with a person or persons on a topic or topics of interest. Today, we'll be hearing from Attorney Connie Rice, one of our premier civil rights attorneys. And I want to talk about lawless lawmakers, because there seem to be quite a few of them nationally, on the national stage, of course, led by the 45th president. This is also a Wealth Building Wednesday, where we put the spotlight on a BIPOC, small business, woman-owned, or socially innovative enterprise. Got a good one for you today. Partner in politics for Hour One is someone you should know by now. He is the host and producer of The Conversation Live, also a contributor to the LA Progressive, a journalist, award-winning journalist, James Farr. Good morning.
Good morning, Dominique. How are you?
All is well. How you doing?
You know, I'm good. You know, I feel like I want to join PETA. You know, so I may be your first member in People for the Ethical Treatment of what was the acronym?
Oh, mine is People for the Ethical Treatment of People. Yeah.
People. There you go. I'm ready to join with you, but I'm doing great. Thank you so much.
You'll be my first member. So.
I'm your friend. I want to be a charter member, but thanks so much for again having me, and let's chop it up.
Yeah, I mean, again, one of the things we've been able to do this week, which I feel good about, is kind of shining the spotlight on areas that are actually Southern California or technically LA, but we just don't spend that much time on them because we tend to be focused on the city proper, you know, South LA, what we call Los Angeles. But really, we spent Monday talking about Long Beach, all the way from the IE, the Antelope Valley, all the way to Santa Monica. It's all Southern California. It's all part of the same community. And one of the things you've done really, really well is tracking what's going on in Pasadena, Altena, that area, which has, for whatever reason, been sort of a hotbed for police misconduct.
It seems to be, but, you know, it is consistent here as it is in many other cities across, you know, this county and this nation. So it's something that, you know, local community members have had to deal with for decades. And, you know, I listened to the promo on just before we came on, you know, the question about ending police violence and brutality. And, you know, it's rhetorical, you know, in the sense that, yes, we want to end it, right? But you just see so many different ways that this culture of police excessive use of force, police being heavy-handed, you know, violating constitutional rights, you know, even being found by a federal judge in a ruling to be their activities to be unlawful. So it's a lot that's happening up here.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because when you go, if you're from, you know, South LA and you go, it's such a quaint, Pasadena, such a quaint little spot, you know, all the cute little shops and restaurants. But for me, I certain episodes like Kendrick McDade always haunt me just because of the way, you know, we talk about how the bigger agencies, if they have a problem police officer or an officer who gets in trouble, oftentimes they will end up going to a smaller outlying department like a Pasadena and continue their antics.
Well, That's exactly what we saw in this Christopher Ballew case. And I have an article that published, I believe, today, that kind of sums up his $3.2 million settlement agreement that he reached with the city to resolve or dismiss a lawsuit from a 2017 very, very savage beating. One of the things that we learned about one of the officers, Officer Larry Esparza, if any of your listeners, Dominique, watched Colin Kaepernick's Killing County, which is a docuseries he produced with ABC News, it documents Bakersfield in Kern County. And as you know, the ACLU, I believe it was in 2021, did a very deep dive into the history of and the current situations that were going on within the Kern County Sheriff's Office, as well as the Bakersfield Police Department. We see, a reader of mine made me aware of it in the documentary, but we see Officer Esparza kind of matriculate through this culture of policing up in Bakersfield, right? And then we later learn that he is connected, if not implicated, in the death of an informant that he was handling illegally, as well as a suspect, and an officer was also shot. And so there's a lot of corruption there, but we see that migratorial pattern that you're speaking about, where an officer leaves one department, comes to another, and in this case, the timeline lines up where we see Esparza leave Bakersfield, and within a year, he's beating Ballew.
So,
still on probation. Go ahead.
That's crazy. I mean, it is crazy, but not. It's one of those things that's shocking, but not surprising. So this guy, right, Larry Esparza, leaves Bakersfield. I mean, if we had the kind of thing we talked about in the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, where there was a national database of problem officers, although we know these folks know more than they say they do, probably a background check would do it. But why? What would have been the red flag for this guy Esparza that would have stopped him from getting hired from Bakersfield?
You should back here in Pasadena. No, the chief at the time, Philip Sanchez, all chiefs approve all hires at the end of the day. This case that Esparza was involved in was a very public case. And so a simple Google search, let alone what we believe our hiring processes are for, lateral as well as new recruits, is very extensive. So it's hard to believe that the chief at that time was not aware of this. But we have to close the gap in that if an officer is laterally transferring or moving to another department, they basically quit and they close their books. Some departments will take them if they do show their books, and by that I mean their background. Others are kind of like a free-for-all, and so it's not as a database is good, but it has to be a little bit tighter.
Interesting. Talking with James Farr, and there's so many cases. Sometimes we don't track each one; they blend together. And when we come forward, I want to talk a little bit more about this case, go back in time and talk about what happened to Christopher Ballew in 2017, why it's relevant now, and why this isn't just another case that we will quickly, mix up with all the other cases, because so many Black people are being attacked, being killed, and being seriously injured by law enforcement agencies across the country. I'm Dominique DiPrima, talking with James Farr of The Conversation Live, and this is KBLA, Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
Jai Person-Lin here with Person-Lin Law Office. As a fourth-generation Angelino, educated at Hampton University and Howard University School of Law, I understand the importance of upholding your human and civil rights whenever dealing with law enforcement. Whether facing a misdemeanor, felony, or infraction, I'm here to ease the stress and uncertainty that comes with an arrest or criminal charge. My team is dedicated to providing the best legal representation, and we will work with you at every step to ensure you are fully informed and your rights are protected. With nearly 2 decades of experience and a long track record of success, I will work diligently to ensure the best possible outcome. Call me as soon as you're aware of police contact at 424-261-2075. That's 424-261-2075. 424-261-2075.
At Charmin, we heard you shouldn't talk about going to the bathroom in public, so we decided to sing about it.
Roll Charmin ultra strong when you drop in the beat. It cleans with way less effort on your seat. Yeah, roll it, drop it. Yeah, roll it, drop it. Charmin flows extra strong from the road. Your butt hella clean while you're sitting on the bowl. Yeah, it's all you need for that bathroom groove. Get you in and out without nothing to prove.
Charmin Ultra Strong cleans better so you can use less. Enjoy the go with Charmin.
The FAA will be hiring air traffic controllers soon. Applications open June 24th through June 27th. If you know someone between the ages of 18 and 30 who might be interested, please tell them to go to www.faa.gov/BE-ATC to apply today. The salary range is $103,000 to $164,000. There's also paid training and school. Again, that's www.faa.gov/BE-ATC. Again, that's www.faa.gov/BE-ATC to apply to be an air traffic controller. This community call to action is brought to you by the Organization of Black Aerospace Professionals and KBLA Talk 1580.
The double steak grilled cheese burrito is back at Taco Bell. And in case you didn't know, it's stacked. Yeah, packed inside it is a double serving of premium grilled marinated steak and a melty 3-cheese layer. Then on top of that, it has a layer of grilled bubbly cheese on the outside. Yeah, the outside. Why? Probably because it refuses to be caged in by the confines of its tortilla walls. Or maybe just to add more cheesy flavor.
Double steak grilled cheese burrito. Get one today, only at Taco Bell. At participating U.S. Taco Bell locations for a limited time only while supplies last. Double steak claim is compared to steak quesadilla. Contact store for hours and participation which vary.
Your ancestors' favorite radio station, and your favorite morning show host. Let's get back to Dominique DiPrima right now.
Right now, I'm in conversation with the creator of The Conversation Live. Right now, it's on First Things First, KBLA Talk 1580. James Farr is an accomplished journalist. He is a film documentarian and a member of the National Association of Black Journalists. James Farr, you know, some people hear me talking on the show and they think that I am anti-police, and it's not that. I just stop giving me so many things to talk about. You know, I feel I'm not even an abolitionist, although I feel like we need to radically reimagine what law enforcement and policing looks like. I do believe in reprioritizing budgets to reflect the reality of what's needed by communities. That said, it's not that I'm on some anti-cop tirade, but I am anti-injustice. And it seems like, up there in the Pasadena, Altena area, we do see quite a bit of it. In what you call in your latest article, a pattern of police violating policy, racial targeting, and more. So talk about what happened to Christopher Ballew.
Share some of the same views, Dominique. And, you know, it's not what I call it. It's what the data shows. It's what the records show, that there is a pattern of heavy-handed policing towards, and that's no surprise, right, towards African Americans and Latinos. But back in 2017, Chris was just driving his car. You know, he had tinted windows and no front license plate, and these two officers, Larry Esparza and Zachary Lujan, were out hunting. They were patrolling in the area on an active fishing expedition looking for, air quote, gang members, right? They were part of a special unit. Chris had pulled into the gas station, had casually exited his car and was heading into the mini mart when the officers swooped in, pulled up behind him, and immediately went hands on. From there, Dominique, it just goes bad, and it goes bad real quickly. You know, Chris is struck with a baton. at least 5 times so hard that it bent the baton. His face is slammed double-handedly into the asphalt. He's failed to be handcuffed. He's transported without medication. You know, it was just a horrific experience for what otherwise was just a good young brother in the community going about his day, minding his business while being black. And this is the result. This brother was snatched off the street and now had to face a 5-year trafficking into the criminal, I guess, injustice system because he did nothing wrong.
I mean, you know, I've seen the tape. It's pretty terrible. And I guess, you know, this case is, it's weird to me because, as your article states, there was a huge settlement. I think it's pretty huge, $3.2 million, right?
I mean, I can't say what's huge, but I get your point.
I mean,
Go ahead.
to me, for a person that's still alive, that's, you know, that's a sizable, maybe it's not huge. It's a sizable award, $3.2 million settlement. But yet the officers are ruled to be in policy. They were completely exonerated by the internal department review. That to me is confusing. We're going to pay you $2 million because we messed up, but yet this is totally fine and the officers can carry on with no accountability or no work consequences, right? They're not paying the $3.2 million. They actually, from what I understand, have great assignments and continue to thrive within the department.
Absolutely. And, you know, with speaking with Chris and his attorney, Chris would have taken less of a settlement if the officers could have been held to actually have to pay themselves. This was not about money for him. But when you put that spotlight, you know, on money within the last 18 months or so, almost 2 years, we've seen our city pay out over $10 million. One for the 7.5 for the death of Anthony McClain from the August 2020 homicide. And then this finally comes to resolution. But, you know, the command staff all knew about what happened. When a critical incident happens, it triggers an automatic response in the department, and they all see the video. And so what's important to point out at that time is Esparza was still about 2 or 3 weeks away from sunsetting on his probation, which means when the chief at that time saw that video, regardless of that video, if he didn't like the way the officer shined his shoes that day, he was an at-will employee and could have fired him. Had he fired him, I think this would have been a different, certainly financial resolution. The community might have felt differently about the heinous acts, but it is a contemporary Rodney King moment right here in the same community that Rodney King lived and grew up in. And Chris is not, I guess he is lucky. You know, the gas station is where the $1 billion mega lotto was won. You know, so the fact that he is alive, I guess that is his fortune. But we got to look at the 5 years it took to get here and possibly the lasting effects on his life and what that does to a family.
Yeah, we got about a minute before news, traffic, and sports. We'll continue on the other side, James Farr. But when you say, you know, the 5 years, you're talking about from the moment he was pulled over and beaten up to the moment that he got the settlement.
Yes, and that only begins another chapter, right? You know, and so, but yes, those are the 5 years that we're speaking of, because from the very beginning and on video, as you heard him, he maintained his innocence. He maintained that he complied. But what we saw is that blacks are asked to be superhuman and be submissive under the threat of violence and certainly a physical assault on their body.
Yep. And in many of these cases, conflicting commands or commands they're not able to comply with because they're handcuffed or being, you know, beaten up or whatever the case may be. We're talking with James Farr, the LA Progressive, and you're welcome to join the conversation. 800-920-1580. I'm Dominique DiPrima for KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Faculty and staff at Rutgers University are striking for a third day. The strike by 9,000 professors, adjutants, and teaching assistants will resume this morning at the university in New Jersey. The walkout affects 67,000 students at 3 different campuses. The striking employees are calling for better pay, benefits, and job security. A man is facing multiple charges after allegedly making racially biased threats of violence against Colorado Democratic Congressman Joe Neguse. Michael James Kennedy was arrested by Denver police last Thursday and was scheduled to appear in Boulder County Court yesterday. Investigators said Kennedy made more than a dozen violent threats against Neguse, the only black member of Colorado's congressional delegation. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Bank of America has powerful digital solutions for local and global businesses, so you can make every move matter. Visit bankofamerica.com/banking for business to learn more. Bank of America, N.A. Copyright 2023.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
There's a breeze still coming out of Crypto.com Arena this morning in downtown LA. A lot of Lakers fans are exhaling a sigh of relief after the Lakers had to work overtime to beat a shorthanded Minnesota team by 6 in the NBA's play-in round. LeBron, at age 38, played 45 minutes and finished with 30 points, 10 rebounds, and 6 assists. Dennis Schroeder was clutch off the bench all night. Schroeder hit a three-pointer with 1.1 seconds left in regulation and sank 2 free throws with 8 seconds left in OT. The win clinches the 7th seed for the Lakers in the Western Conference and sends them into a first-round matchup with the Memphis Grizzlies. Game 1 in the best-of-7 series is Sunday in Memphis. Tip-off at noon on ABC. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm young, gifted, and black. KBLA Talk 1580, we do more than just talk.
Hey there, I'm Jared Hill, president of the National Association of Black Journalists of Los Angeles, and I just want to say thank you for the benevolent $10,000 donation and scholarships for the next generation of black journalists.
And I'm Haywood Galbraith, photojournalist and founder of the Minority Photojournalism Institute. Thanks, KBLA, for your generous $10,000 scholarship gift to help us train the next generation of black photojournalists.
Congratulations to all the students who will benefit from the scholarship dollars raised at our Black History Month luncheon, honoring black legends in LA media. When we come forward at KBLA Talk 1580, we're bringing everybody with us. Everybody with us. Everybody with us.
Thanks to our new sponsor, Lendistry. Lendistry is a national Black-led small business lender that is headquartered in Los Angeles. Lendistry helps small business owners access the affordable capital needed to grow. Visit Lendistry, LENDISTRY.com/KBLA today.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Tired of being locked out of job opportunities and shut down by systemic racism? KBLA stands with you in fighting for the rights of black workers, and we don't black down. The Los Angeles Black Workers Center is a dynamic alliance of workers, organized labor, community-based organizations, clergy, students, and scholars, working collectively to improve the position of the black working class. The LA Black Workers Center takes a comprehensive approach to addressing the black jobs crisis. Their programs promote access to quality jobs, racial equity in hiring and retention, discrimination-free job sites, and they prepare black workers for employment in high-wage, career-track jobs. The Black Workers Center supports workers who need help protecting their rights on the job. They give workers access to quality jobs and remove systemic barriers to employment. To sign up for free career readiness training, get involved in organizing around anti-discrimination, learn about union apprenticeship programs, or sign on to a trade registry, please visit www.lablackworkerscenter.org. That's LABlackWorkersCenter.org. Together, we can beat the black jobs crisis. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Life is uncertain. It's okay to feel stressed, anxious, worried, or frustrated. It's normal. With CalHope's free and secure mental health resources, it's easy to get the help you and your loved ones need when you need it the most. Call our warm line at 833-317-4673 or live chat at calhope.org today.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DiPrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
Thank you. I do appreciate you and appreciate James Farr of the Los Angeles Progressive and LA Los Angeles Progressive and the Conversation Live. I was taking you to LA Live, James Farr. He's also co-founder of the Pasadena African American Film Foundation and the Black August Film Festival. James, one of the things that strikes me about the situation with Christopher Ballew, aside from the fact that he's so young when this happens, he's just 21, is that the cameras were rolling, body cams, security cams, and the officers knew it. So this idea that body cameras would stop police from, doing crazy things, at least in this case, doesn't seem to apply.
It certainly doesn't seem to apply, and it wouldn't be an overreaching statement to say that it really doesn't matter, because as officers can articulate, and as we saw, I watched all of the footage, right?
Wow.
Not just what the final clips are. I'm talking about almost 100 hours of viewing of this footage to put together the documentaries. And so I have a pretty working knowledge of how the sequence of events played out. And what we see is the officers lying about what happened from the beginning. And so it didn't matter that the cameras were on. What we saw them was audibling and like physically acting out certain things so that what was captured seems to help shape and create a narrative. But one of the first things Esparza says to, backup officers is that we were chucks up, meaning it was a fight. You saw the video, Dominique. Was there a fight?
No, I didn't see a fight. Yep.
We see someone deflecting an assault. And so, I don't know. They say the cameras are supposed to be a deterrent. That's what we bought into here in the city of Pasadena. I'm switching hats as a resident, but in this case, part of the problem is the policy has not been amended that officers shall activate their cameras. It currently states that they should. And so if you know that there's no real consequence, and in the case of these officers, who come from one, the LA Sheriff's Department, the other from Bakersfield, you see a pattern of behavior that, it is unfair to the good men and women, right? Let me be balanced that work in the police department. But, this is they talk about bad apples. I think these guys came from toxic soil. So,
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, and the bad apples thing always makes me cringe, because it's a way of just blaming the individuals rather than the system that they work in that allows them to do that. If it was just bad apples, they'd be reported by good apples, and they would be, kicked out of the orchard by a system that supported, justice.
Actually, Dominique, I mean, it was reported, right? I mean,
right.
You saw it. I saw it. We all saw it, right? The world saw it at almost, as soon as it happened. And so what the public is told from the department is incongruent with what actually happens internally. And so from the very beginning, I could have told you these officers were going to be cleared, right? That's just what it is. And once they've been cleared, they can no longer face prosecution from the standpoint of an internal discipline or some other type of review. The DA decided not to charge it. I don't know if the DA could pick it back up, with a second lens. I mean, because there is some actual threats of bodily harm that the federal judge ruled that Chris's behavior was innocuous. He wasn't doing anything, and it did not warrant the level of aggression. And then we see the process after where it just stayed quiet.
Right, and you note in your article that according to the judge, according to Pasadena Now, judge ruled that that racism and race was a viable argument, that it was a viable basis for a lawsuit to go forward, considering the traffic stops by the gang unit there in Pasadena, which at least 44% of those folks stopped are black. I don't know what the numbers are as far as the residents of Pasadena, but I'm quite sure it ain't 44%. Not even close. It's not even close. And so, again, their pretextual reasons for stopping Christopher, you don't see officers stopping white women. You don't see officers stopping other motorists in other parts of the city, right? So this is something that they choose to enforce when they choose to enforce it, and it's not equally enforced across all of Pasadena. And so, again, this is a culture. It's a culture. So, of course, why the settlement now? This is the 12th of April. The trial is set for when?
The trial was set for later this month.
Right. So they drag their feet and set up roadblocks to justice for 5 years, and then suddenly, when the trial is weeks away, a settlement emerges.
And that's the disappointing part, right? As for both Christopher, for his family, and for our greater community at large, right? We all saw what happened. What's the wait, right? Why the process? And I have on record the former Chief Sanchez, former Chief Perez, all guaranteeing that this investigation and the process, again, we're going back 5 years, would be wrapped up in 6 to 8 months. Again, this is standard speak from chiefs about an investigation, right? It's 5 years.
Right, and why they don't want to release footage, and they never want to release names, and we have to wait for the investigation in about 6 to 8 months, and now it's 5 years later.
6 to 8 months, and then it's 5 years later.
Yeah.
But why now, Dominique? They don't want this case in front of a jury.
Yeah.
Bottom line, and I don't think that it would have fared well. So when you again isolating back onto what the settlement was, that's through mediation. So that was not the highest number, nor was it the lowest number. So
right.
It could have potentially been far greater. It also could have gone to trial, and a jury could have came back and awarded a lot less. What we see from the city's or more, correct, right? And so what we see here is the city using a tactic that ultimately further victimizes Ballew. It vicariously traumatizes the community, but they did not want to take the chance of getting in front of a jury and putting these officers on the stand and potentially having an even larger settlement.
Do you think that a case like the case of Charles Towns, having been in the spotlight again, especially with the Pasadena police and Altena sheriff harassing that man's children in front of their home and hemming them up and letting them go? I mean, does all this kind of publicity, do you think it impacts the decision of the department of the city to go ahead and, because $3.2 million, I mean, I don't know the Pasadena annual budget, but it ain't no LA city annual budget. $3.2 million is is a chunk of change.
Well, Dominique, there's something called insurance, and there's something called a premium. And so it would be different if these settlements, right, when we talk about defunding police or reallocating, but let's say if the settlements were, as they are in just these two instances, about $10 million. If that money was coming out of the police annual budget, I think police would have a different argument. And so the taxpayers, right? These officers don't live in this city. They don't live in this community. They're not as vested in this community, and many of them are just occupying this community. And so it is an insurance policy that is paying this.
Right.
I'm still waiting on documents to find out exactly how much in legal fees did this cost the city. It's not just the 3.2.
Yeah, that's a good point.
There's actual hard
even
dollars.
if those officers were on the line for 5%, right, of what they cost the city or the insurance policy, I bet you they would have a different attitude about who they decide to attack on any given day. I'm talking with James Farr of the LA Progressive. When we come forward, I want to talk about some other local issues here in greater Los Angeles, but also for Christopher Ballew and his family. Does this constitute justice, the settlement? What else, if anything, are they looking for? This is KBLA, Talk 1580. We're unapologetically progressive.
Safe place to go loud. A great place for progressive politics. KBLA Talk 1580.
LA Mayor Karen Bass and the city attorney announced Skid Row housing preservation and rehab initiative. Maisha Cairo here with your K-Black Minute News. LA Mayor Karen Bass and City Attorney Heidi Feldstein Soto recently announced an initiative to preserve and rehabilitate 2,000 housing units in Skid Row. The announcement comes after the Skid Row Housing Trust's recent communication that it would no longer be able to operate the 29 buildings it runs across the city. So this new plan will turn the city's aging downtown real estate into housing for the homeless. In reference to this plan, the mayor says that failure is not an option. Losing nearly 2,000 units of housing would be devastating to Skid Row, and it would be felt citywide, and people would lose their lives. What do you think about this new plan? Let us know on all socials at KBLA 1580.
The double steak grilled cheese burrito is back at Taco Bell. And in case you didn't know, it's stacked. Yeah, packed inside it is a double serving of premium grilled marinated steak and a melty 3-cheese layer. Then on top of that, it has a layer of grilled bubbly cheese on the outside. Yeah, the outside. Why? Probably because it refuses to be caged in by the confines of its tortilla walls. Or maybe just to add more cheesy flavor.
Double steak grilled cheese burrito. Get one today, only at Taco Bell. At participating U.S. Taco Bell locations for a limited time only while supplies last. Double the steak claim as compared to steak quesadilla. Contact store for hours and participation with change.
KBLA Talk 1580 congratulates U.S. Olympic gold medalist and Hall of Famer Jeanette Bolden Pickens, owner of the 27th Street Bakery, during this Women's History Month. 27th Street Bakery sends a huge thank you to the community for all its support during the pandemic, serving the Los Angeles community with their signature sweet potato pies since 1956 and third-generation baker. The goal has never changed. Keep the business thriving for generations to come. Made with the freshest ingredients in each yam peeled by hand. 27th Street Bakery puts the home back in homemade with the signature vanilla added to all its amazing products. Pies, cakes, cobblers, tea cakes, and the newest item, creamy sweet potato cheesecake. Call 323-233-3469. That's 323-233-3469. Have your order shipped by visiting 27thstreetbakery.com or stop by 2700 South Central Avenue, Los Angeles, California, 90001, Tuesdays through Saturdays, 8 to 4.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we do more than just talk.
You got a big mouth. Hello, Joe, you're up. Welcome.
We're unapologetically progressive, and we don't black down.
And neither do you. You're welcome into the conversation, 800-920-1580. Talking with James Farr from the LA Progressive. You can find them at laprogressive.com, by the way. So, to me, what else would the city do besides settle the judge's words that basically saying that what the officers did here against Christopher Ballew was unconstitutional, and that they violated a person's Fourth Amendment right to be free of excessive force. No warning was given, and less intrusive forms of force are available. He says their case law is sufficient to put a prudent officer on notice that baton strikes, punches, and other such uses of force against a person who is suspected of minor, non-jailable infractions poses little or no risk to others or police officers and offers minimal or no resistance, violates that person's Fourth Amendment right. I mean, to me, that's like the judge kind of telling you, and y'all about to lose.
I think the judge put the city on notice in the strongest possible way, right? But again, the city is seasoned in this process, right? And so this is a pattern that they play out post events, right? It takes time. But again, these things further victimize the community. You asked about, Chris and is this justice? I don't want to answer that for him. I will answer that in one of the future articles that's coming out in the next couple of weeks. But what I can tell you is he did want the officers to be held accountable. Now, there comes a point in a legal proceeding where there has to be a decision that's made, right? Is it prudent to press forward with a trial, or is this option the best pathway, right? But, in speaking with him and certainly his mother, she is proud of Christopher for him standing up for himself, for him doing a lot of the legal research and helping his attorney be as knowledgeable and as informed as he could be. And so, is it justice? I don't know, Dominique. It's Chris should have never been in this situation.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, clearly it's just a piece of justice, but I just, I always want to know what the families want, because so many times they end up focusing on the bigger picture. They end up trying to get justice for everybody and not, many times it's not. Of course, it's about the money, but it's not about the money. It's about, like you said, accountability and the firing of, to me, those officers should not be walking around with guns. They just shouldn't be. I just don't see how you can really justify that.
Dominique, Chris was your son. Chris was my son. You're just a good kid.
Yeah. Yeah.
And from a basic black family,
I mean, to me, even if he was the biggest gang member in the world, though, he doesn't deserve to just be beaten up by people that are supposed to protect and serve. I do know, clearly he's educated. Clearly he's, an incredible young man. But to me, we shouldn't have to be perfect to qualify for normal treatment by law enforcement, or what should be normal treatment.
2,000 words I wrote, 5 of them bother me still, and that is Chris was not a gang member. And I put that in there because the audience isn't always as in touch with the culture, right? And so
yeah, no, you got to say it, but I hate saying it, because I'm like, and even if he was, the cops don't get to kill and beat him, because he's still a human being if he is a gang member. And also, what is your definition of gang member? Because a lot of times they just think because people are from certain communities, they can automatically paint them that way. You wearing a color, what is the behavior? Is it criminal, or is it just your existence that's a problem? Those are always the questions that I think we as progressives need to be asking. Otherwise, we go down that slippery slope of dehumanizing and criminalizing ourselves. Talking to James Farr, and we'll continue the conversation. And it is live when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
The station you turn to when you've had it up to gear with cultural incompetence. KBLA Talk 1580.
Mom's early Alzheimer's diagnosis was hard to take.
And when I left the Evanon, we decided together that it was time to see a doctor and make a plan.
Early detection gave us more time to seek out information and support as a family.
If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together. For more information, visit alz.org/time to talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminding you that we keep us safe. The Center for the Pacific Asian Family was founded to help address domestic violence and sexual assault in the Asian and the Pacific Islander communities. The Center for the Pacific Asian Family's mission is to build healthy and safe communities by addressing the root causes and consequences of family violence and violence against women. They are committed to meeting the specific cultural and language needs of the Asian and Pacific Islander women and their families. CPAF's vision is of an Asian and Pacific Islander community that embraces healthy relationships and works in partnership with other communities to eradicate all forms of violence. To access services, volunteer, or for more info, visit nurturingchange.org. At KBLA Talk 1580, we believe everyone deserves to be safe. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone, America's #1 brakes destination. We have the pads, rotors, drums, shoes, and brake fluids to improve your stopping power. Right now, save 15% when you get any 2 Duralast rotors with a set of Duralast brake pads. Missing a tool? Ask about our free Loan-A-Tool program and borrow the tools you need to get the job done.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Claim based on data from the MPD Group 2021. Deposit required for Loan-A-Tool.
Some people won't give you the real talk on drugs, but it's time we know the facts. Fentanyl is killing people. It's a powerful opioid, often made illegally and commonly mixed with illicit drugs. It can even be pressed into counterfeit pills that resemble prescription medications. Just 2 milligrams, about the size of a few grains of sand, can potentially be lethal. This isn't an ad to scare you, but it is an ad to make you think twice. Get the facts. Go to realdealonfentanyl.com. This message is brought to you by the Ad Council.
We knew you'd stick around. This is LA's home for progressive talk radio. Be heard. Welcome back to KBLA Talk 1580.
So we ran through all of our time today. I'm going to have to give you a speed round here, James Farr. There's some kind of there's a controversy about a mural at an Altena coffee shop. Give me your feedback. Apparently, the unincorporated coffee roasters in Altena has got the neighborhood up in arms because of a painting.
A little bit more than up in arms. Friday, I got a call from a community member who has been consumed and almost in tears by what this particular community member is seeing depicted in this mural. Let me say this. I am an avid supporter of free speech, right? And so this isn't an assault on the artist. This is his artwork. But I think the good neighbor part of the folks who are the owners of the coffee shop, they've heard enough from the community. Just take it down. It's really that simple. But you have newer community members who aren't as familiar with what the area was and is becoming. And so basically the white folks, some of the same ones who were out there marching in 2020, don't see a problem with it. That's what's happening.
And people say that it's violent. LA City Council reappointed Heather Hutt to represent the 10th District. I know that's not Pasadena, but it's big news around here. Some folks felt that, including Monica Rodriguez, the lone no vote, that we should have had a special election.
It would have been a waste of money and nothing more than a distraction. Let Council Member Hutt continue to assume the duties in the 10th District and represent her constituents. And then when the seat comes up for election, if she chooses to run, she and the others can all put their hat in, and then the people will have their say at that time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a resident of the 10th District, and I definitely second what you just said. James Farr, time flies when you're talking about important stuff. Please tell us how to track you.
At James Farr Live, you can read my articles over at the LA Progressive and many of the other conversations you and I have had, Dominique.
Yes, indeed. And by the way, I just found out there's pictures of you in this exhibit, which is being held at the Red Hen Press, which is about Black Lives Matter, its impact on Pasadena, Altena. It's at the Red Hen, which is 1540 Lincoln Avenue in Pasadena, Monday through Thursday from 9 to 5:30, now through June. So you can go
That's
see.
news to me.
You can go see pictures of Mr. Farr and the Pasadena
Shout out to the
Black
Radiant Press.
and
All
photographer
right.
Alfred Heyman. Yes, indeed. All right, we got news. Thank you, James. Always like talking to you. We've got news, traffic, and sports, and then it's time for a Wealth Building Wednesday around here. KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black and